Well, folks, welcome back. We've got another episode of the Move Well podcast. We're bringing to you live, and thank goodness, Wade.
Kevin's not here.
Thank goodness.
It's going to flow a lot easier today. We're actually going to be able to talk. We're not going to be interrupted, cut off with Kevin's little shenanigans. So it's going to be a good day. It's going to be a good day. Yeah.
It's going to be good. We're really, really excited. So a thing that we've implemented is I'm going to grab the remote here. We're going to turn down the volume on this TV. It's the very last one that I try to grab.
There we go. All right. We got it muted.
We get to watch ourselves on the big screen here. So we get to kind of see what the visual looks like for you all, and that we can, adjust as needed as we go forward. But yeah, again, it's just Wade and I today. Kevin, let's talk about what Kevin's doing, which is a pretty cool opportunity.
Yeah.
This week he'll be gone. He left yesterday afternoon. He'll be gone today and tomorrow. But he is hanging out with our good friends from 3 of 7 Project. So let's talk about a little bit of what he's up to right now.
Yeah. So today, Kevin reached out to him probably a couple months ago to try to go down and just shadow some of the processes that they do in terms of their podcast, their YouTube, and just try to generate some ideas of some content that we can put out to help support our clients that we're doing, especially moving into the executive wellness piece. And so he's just trying to get an inside look and just see how we can continue to better, just grow our channel and better serve our clients that we do. So he's pretty excited to be following Chad and Blake around for the day. Let's see what time it is. 9:38. He was supposed to report to Chad's house at 9. If it was anything like work, he probably showed up a little late to Chad's house. And so hopefully he's not getting in too much trouble right now. But we're excited for him to be able to go down, spend the day with them, get to spend some time with Blake's wife and kids too. Kevin's wife went down there with them too. So hopefully they're having a good time down there today, and he'll be able to come back, I'm sure, with a lot of ideas on how to revamp what we're doing and just to come with hopefully just more clarity of what we're trying to build here too.
Yeah. I'm excited for him too. And we've talked about it on multiple podcasts and just platforms in general, but the Wrights, Blake, Chad, all their families have just become really good friends to us, but especially Kevin. I know their kids are like pen pals now, so it's kind of cute to hear that they'll like mail physical letters back and forth to each other. But yeah, the purpose today, we'll probably keep it short and sweet. We don't have Kevin on here kind of going on a rant, but we'll see. You never know.
Well, before we get started, there's always things we got to talk about first.
That's true.
So we'll hit a little bit on the executive wellness piece and then our Patreon account as well. Yep. So just want to make sure, I know we've hit on it last few podcasts, is we have a new offering with Move Well called our executive wellness piece. So it's more of our direct to consumer offering, really geared towards business leaders. So if there's anyone out there, especially looking to just level up in their personal performance as well as their business performance, we now have an offering. You can email just info@MoveWell or anybody on our team, or reach out through our social media channels to try to get started. Just see if it is something that's right for you. We do a free intro call just to see if it's something that would benefit you. So that's something that we like to always discuss in this. So we have only 7 spots left.
I think there's 7 now. Now there's only 7.
7 spots left that we're hoping to get filled by April. So we just once we get to that capacity of 12, then we'll have to reevaluate and see how we're doing overall with the programming itself. So its spots are limited, and it's continuing to go well. And the clients that are currently in it have nothing but great things to say about the program they're enrolled in, and it seems to be benefiting them on not only personal, but also on the business side of things. Also, on top of that, you can see, hopefully linked on our YouTube, if Logan hasn't done that already, our Patreon account that we currently have.
I'll drop it in the chat.
So Patreon, you can subscribe to it to support our podcast and a lot of our other ministry endeavors that we're doing. So we like to be very involved in our community that we do, but it's also expensive to do those things, such as our podcasts and a lot of the giving back ministries that we do. So if you want to go on and you don't want to be a full-on executive wellness partner, Patreon for just $10 a month, you can support our cause and our mission that we have out there, just trying to bring leaders to life. And so if you want to support our mission, that's an easy way to do it. $10 a month will go a long way in supporting this podcast and any other ministry endeavor that we currently have.
Yep. And to kind of add on that too, I want to give a shout out to our first Patreon member. We have Mr. Brent Sanford.
Yep.
So that's another thing too, is obviously it's not a huge deal to people, I'm sure, to be shouted out necessarily, but we do want to highlight you all. So shout out to Brent. He was our very first Patreon member. And he's a local legend, if you want to use Strava verbiage. But Brent just does a lot of incredible things and just really active in the community, in the running community.
And he's always supported us from the beginning,
Always, yeah. Yeah, Brent has always been supportive of Move Well and Kevin and all of us here.
I mean, he came up and ran my turkey trot. I think it was last year.
Yeah.
So he drove all the way up to Hardinsburg, Kentucky on Thanksgiving Day.
Which is, how far is that?
It's probably about an hour and 15, 20 minutes from where he lives. So drove up there, ran a PR, did awesome, and just turned around, drove right back home. But he was doing it just to support our Move Well mission.
Yeah. And Brent also, one thing I love about Brent too, he does a lot of really cool, like off the wall type of running events. But one thing that he does every year, I'm not sure why exactly. I know he has something like other obligations basically, but the Bowling Green Marathon starts, I think the gun goes off at 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. I don't know, something like that. And he always wakes up earlier and runs the course before everybody else and finishes around the time that the race starts, because he has other obligations. So he's just like a really good example to fathers and husbands and everything. So shout out to Brent, our first Patreon member, and hopefully he gets some good value out of that. But yeah, like Wade said, just it supports the podcast. It supports Move Well in general. And, obviously us doing this, once a week, and then the mission behind what we're doing, it pulls us away from other things, but we love to do this. Yep. So Patreon, if you're feeling called to just support us in any capacity, I think that would be an easy first step.
And you get access to content that our some of our paid clients get as well. It's a little more limited, but you get access to it. And plus you get access to our internal Bible study that's led by one of our own internal team members as well. So the next one is coming up. Let's see, today is the second week of February. So next week, we'll have our February meeting. Should be on Monday at noon, I believe.
Yep,
so Monday if you are a Patreon member by then, you'll be able to join in on that. We're doing those during lunch. We've kind of restructured what those look like. So that way anybody can participate in it that's hopefully a member of the Patreon account, to be able to come give their own insights, give feedback, and just continue to make our common ground more holistic and just get a lot more perspectives in on it as well.
Yes, we'll talk about that real quick too, actually, just to give people like kind of a snapshot as we're on the Patreon kick here. But, when you join, like Wade said, you'll get some access to our content. We'll make specific posts in Patreon that people don't see on our social media, that people do not see on our Move Well app, our clients. So it's just kind of a different approach and a different communication with the Move Well team. So Kevin, Wade, myself, whoever is kind of scheduled or feeling called to make a post on our Patreon account, that's who's going to be making posts. But what's really cool about the Patreon side is we have kind of the discretion of bringing a more spiritual approach. So like Wade kind of alluded to, we'll do common ground. We call it common ground. Basically, we named it common ground because it's all non-denominational. So we want people that maybe come from a Baptist background or a Catholic background or Methodist background, whatever it might be. We want you to be able to come in and feel comfortable to what we're talking about, which is literally just straight from the gospel, straight from the Bible. So Tyler from our team leads those once a month, does a phenomenal job. And if you want to be a part of that, like Wade said, next Monday, February 16th at noon Central Standard Time, that's our next one.
Be square.
Yeah. If you want to be there, go ahead and get signed up on our Patreon account. I dropped it in the chat on YouTube, but if you're listening, this episode will drop audio version at 6 a.m. on Monday on the 16th. So you'll still have a little bit of time, but it's patreon.com/movewell. So really excited to kind of launch that, a new part of Move Well, and just give people some new opportunity to be involved with us and show what we have to offer. Anything else to add, Wade? Good there?
I think we're good, Logan.
All right.
Let's get into the meat and potatoes of our podcast today. Let's see what Logan has prepared today and see what kind of value we can give back to everybody.
The meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
The meat and potatoes.
Speaking of that, I'm hungry now.
Yeah, I know. So today we're kind of talking about, and we were just literally talking about this yesterday, Wade, but like kind of health trends. We talk about this all the time. I think it naturally comes up in conversation. So we'll kind of see where this goes. But I think one thing that's big that we talked on recently, but I think it's good to just kind of like keep hitting on this topic is heart rate training, and talking about the significance of it. And maybe it doesn't make sense to people. So just kind of talking about how you can best practice that. What's like a practical way to go about it, or almost like having a checklist of here's what I can do to be able to effectively practice heart rate training, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So first I want to give like a little bit of context to what that means in terms of heart rate training. Now this, for me, maybe you have a different take on it, but if it's very specific to running, a lot of times when you're talking heart rate training, you hear zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, zone 4, whatever, and I think that can get a little bit overwhelming to people, but it's a very useful way to go about your training. So, is there any outlook you have other than running before we dive into the running specific part of it? What's the importance of heart rate training? What are the benefits of that? And any other like insight you might have to heart rate training just in general when it comes to fitness and working out?
Yeah, I think whenever it comes to heart rate training, people more so correlate that to the zone 2 type training.
Mm-hmm.
And so zone 2 is anything between 60 and 70% of your max heart rate. So to get your max heart rate, typically people just do 220 minus your age, and then you'll do 60 to 70% of that. So you can kind of estimate what your heart rate percentage should fall into in that zone 2. So as far as zone 2 training, it should be an easier pace, more conversational, a slower pace that people can build up a tolerance to increasing their overall aerobic capacity or exercise tolerance, basically. So whenever they're doing that, they're actually like increasing their stores of the mitochondria in their cells, so they actually work more efficiently. So being able to train at a slower pace for a longer duration may not seem like it's super beneficial. Not saying that like any speed work or more maximal heart rate training isn't as prevalent, but I think when people think of the heart rate training, they're thinking, all right, I need to slow down to be able to go longer in terms of the running. Right. But I think in terms of just like getting started away from more of the running, it's just a way to train your body to become more efficient. And in my perspective as a PT, avoiding injury. So it's not like you're going out the gate at 100% all the time, which is likely going to lead to poor recovery, poor sleep, and eventual injury. It's a way to allow your body to adjust and become more efficient over time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I want to give an example for people that, maybe they don't. Kevin always jokes. He's like, I'm not good at math. But let's give an example. So let's use you for an example. You're 50 what? No, I'm joking.
51.
How old are you, Wade?
I'm 33.
33. So if we're talking, and I have my calculator out here, so I can speak it out, or you can speak it out and I can calculate.
112 beats per minute is the lower range.
Okay.
To, let's see. So it was times 0.7 to 130. So 131. So
that would be
112 to 131 would be like my zone 2.
Okay.
Typically.
So
which I'll probably get that just walking around the incline,
And there's nothing wrong with that either. I mean, I think people, especially when you're just beginning, if you're focusing on heart rate training or you notice your heart rate feeling elevated, like that's totally normal. If you're even now for me, I did Tunnel Hill. We all did Tunnel Hill in November. Yeah. And now my wife is training for a race. And so I'm just kind of in a place where I haven't been running much since November. I can count on literally one hand how many times I've run in the last couple of months and even worked out. Going on walks has been pretty much the extent of fitness for me. So I think not being discouraged is good. But essentially, if someone is 33 years old, you would consider, use the word easy, but zone 2, which is the preferred, I would say 80% of the time that you're working out, you want to stay in that zone 2 range. So that would be 112 to 131 beats per minute, right? For a 31-year-old. So how do we calculate that, Wade? How can somebody calculate that? They would take their age.
So their age, or 220.
Okay. 220.
Minus their age.
Minus 33 in this case.
Yep. Equal that. This will be 187.
187.
And then multiply that by 0.6 to get the lower end of that range.
Okay. Which is 112. Yeah.
187 times 0.7 to get the upper range of that.
Okay. So yeah, so that gives you 130.9. So 131 basically. Yeah. So if that's a way that you want to, kind of go about training. And honestly, it's an easy way to calculate that if you're going heart rate based.
And I feel like a lot of watches and a lot of smart technology that you have for wearables for people have the zones built in.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, so I would just make sure and validate that it's the specific zone that you're trying to actually train in. And I don't go as much, I don't know if you do with this either, but not as much off heart rate, just more off feel.
Yeah.
Because I feel like sometimes we can become too dependent on the watch, and I can pull back effort whenever I feel like I got more in the tank at the zone 2. I go more off of a conversational pace on that.
Same.
So if I'm running and I'm able to maintain a conversation and I'm not gasping for air every other sentence, but I'm able to maintain a full sentence, I usually consider that my zone 2. But if I start to push myself a little bit more, where I'm only able to get a couple words out, I know I'm probably going a little bit far past that, versus like solely going off my watch, because sometimes I can let my watch dictate how my performance is and not based off how my body's feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's a big thing too. And it's not easy in the beginning, but eventually you get to the point where you just go like, I know that I'm feeling this way. You know, if I'm running with somebody, we're probably going to pull back a little bit if you're talking a lot, you know. And I think each run is respective to its own, or each workout is respective to its own. But yeah, I think that's kind of a good take on that. And if you have any questions, we're always open to discussing this more. You can email us info@moveworld.com, or comment on these videos on YouTube. Leave a comment or review on Spotify or Apple, and we'll always be happy to kind of give you more insight if that's something you're looking for, or DM us on social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, whatever it might be. But we were talking about Kevin being with 3 of 7 this weekend. I don't know if you've checked your phone, Wade, but we got a hilarious photo. I don't know what's going on. It looks like Cornbread from 3 of 7 Project and somebody else. They have a giant barrel of fire.
That's Chad, isn't
it? I don't know. I think that might be chilling? I think that might be.
I don't know who that is. Yeah.
I don't know who it is with Cornbread, but I think that's Cornbread. In the black
Kevin's
sweatshirt.
Literally setting it looks like a box.
Let's see if we can show it.
I mean, it looks like an exercise box, like when you do box jumps on.
I don't know if you'll be able to see it or not. I'll hold it up here, but.
So it looks like Kevin's being very entertained today. Yeah. I'm actually kind of upset, Kevin, that they're not tuned into our podcast listening.
Yeah, what the heck, man? I was going to send him the link, but obviously he doesn't care that much. So, but anyway, they're definitely having a lot of fun down there in Georgia. So, but kind of moving on, Wade, let's talk hot versus cold therapy now. I think this is a big trend. I don't want to say fad, because it obviously has its benefits. But speaking, specifically, God, these spam calls, man, it's coming in like crazy. Speaking on the recovery aspect, speaking on the alertness aspect, speaking on performance, hot versus cold therapy in general. And I think the big thing for most people is cold plunges. Like that's always kind of the trend. And I think, temperature stress is an easy way to build mental fortitude, to build resilience, just like doing something hard. But I want to talk about, how does it help with circulation? How does it help with recovery when it comes, and we can talk both hot versus cold exposure, whatever we want to start with. But how is that effective? Are there anything or any recommendations of how much time you should be in a cold plunge? Things like that. Like I want to kind of dive into that, because it is effective.
I feel like it is a fad, and it's a trend, and it's something that has grown in popularity over the last 5 years. Especially, you see there's tons of companies making these products now. Obviously, we've probably done them from in terms of cold plunge to sauna, seeing how all of those affect us from a performance standpoint and just a daily activity standpoint. So I feel like the research on the cold plunges that I've seen come out, and I'll try to drop some links on our YouTube as well on more of those, haven't been as impressive as what maybe initially is seen, especially in terms of recovery and in terms of performance. But where you still see the benefit is basically like what you're going back to, is more of the mental alertness, It increases that fight or flight initially, and it kind of helps you stay alert for a longer period of time outside of it. That's where I typically use it. I like doing cold plunges mainly just for what you said. Just enjoy doing something that's very uncomfortable for a short period of time. I think it's 3 minutes is more of the recommendation time for that. And if you don't have a cold plunge available, just turn on a cold shower and you'll get the same effect from it. And so I think it's harder taking a cold shower than it is in a cold plunge, because in a cold plunge within 30 seconds, you're pretty much numb and you can tolerate it pretty well. Whereas a cold shower, it's hitting you from all different angles, and
you have to wash your hair, wash your body.
Yeah. So it's a little bit more uncomfortable. So I think the research coming out on that, and especially there's differences male versus female benefits when it comes in terms of cold plunge. So, females look into that a little bit more, and males as well. So just seeing the different benefits for people. I think there's a little bit better research out there than there was 5 years ago on that.
Yeah. Well, I think with it becoming so popular as well, it's kind of pushed people to do more research, but to kind of give people like an angle on, time and temperature, like how cold should it be? I think like what Wade said, it doesn't have to, there's not like a magic number necessarily. Just even doing a cold shower. But if you're doing cold plunges specifically, some recommendations, if you've never done it before, literally just jump in for 30 seconds or do a 30-second cold shower. If you've already showered that day and you want to do a cold plunge, if you want to call it that, just jump in for 30 seconds, keep the water down cold. And looking up, numbers for beginners, somebody that hasn't really done it, starting at that 30-second mark, and then, eventually go up to 2 minutes. And then if you're somebody that does cold plunges, maybe once a week, twice a week, 2 to 4 minutes, but that 3 to 5 minutes is kind of that magic number. And obviously you don't want to be in there for 10 to 15 minutes, especially if it's really cold. But if looking for temperature, even something at like 59 degrees is good. And, based on research I'm looking at right now on my computer, if you consider yourself more advanced, someone that does cold plunges often, 39 to 50 degrees is a good range to kind of be in, to shoot for if you're doing it pretty often. And again, I mean, a lot of times it's, recovery. I think people just associate cold plunges with recovery and your body feeling better, but a lot of times it's just that dopamine. You get that immediate spike of dopamine, and you feel better, and it's just you've done something challenging and hard. A lot of times people like working out in the mornings because it makes them feel better, and it starts kind of sets the tone for their day. Kind of think about the cold plunge that way too. Like you get that immediate dopamine spike, and it's really helpful. But I think hot versus cold therapy is kind of a big trend as well. So any insight on like the almost think of like sauna,
No, I'm definitely thinking if you're going to try to do one or the other, I think it's obviously a little bit more cost prohibitive to do sauna sessions, I mean, especially ones that get to therapeutic temperatures. Can you look that up? I can't remember off the top of my head, like a therapeutic temperature. What is a therapeutic temperature?
Yeah. So if you're looking at kind of like a general temperature, it says 150 to 170, which
most of
the gyms you go to,
or like most of the generic ones that people get at home may not even reach that temperature to get the effect. You may get a good sweat session in, but you're not getting the benefits. And there's been quite a bit of research, especially one, I think it was JAMA research, like internal med, for individuals that had sauna sessions 4 to 7 times a week. I believe it was around like a 40% decrease in all-cause mortality and like cardiovascular events. So I think if there's one you're going to do to get more benefit, is definitely a sauna. And that just comes in terms of increasing your blood flow, and allowing your body's overall cardiovascular system just to function at a higher level. And that definitely improves recovery as well in terms of the exposure to the heat therapy. And there's also been research in the last 10 to 15 years that's come out that ice immediately after activity and after acute injuries actually inhibits recovery, because your body has a natural way of throwing swelling at that place, or your joint. Let's say I roll my ankle. It's immediately going to swell. And that is a good response from the body to do that. Obviously, over the next couple of days, we want to control that response, but the cold actually inhibits the body's own ability to recover. So I think there's still some research that has to catch up to modern day. That was just something that was adopted practice 30, 40 years ago and just kind of stays ingrained in people. But especially think if you're going to choose one or the other in terms of performance, and not only that, but just longevity, sauna obviously is one that is most benefit, especially if you're somebody like me who had both my granddads pass away of heart attacks, and my family history of cardiac events is stacked against me. I definitely have started doing saunas at least 3 times a week. And I do mine with my little home unit. So I don't know if I'm getting it to the temperature that I want, but I put it in right next to my fireplace at home, crank up the fireplace, got another little heater blowing right on it. So I'm trying to get as hot as I can.
Yeah.
But my gym actually just put one in. So I'm going to try to get in the infrared sauna that they have there, where I know I'm actually getting to like a therapeutic temperature.
Yeah. And I think that's what people, if you have a gym membership, I don't know how common it is, but a lot of times gyms have saunas. So like looking into finding a gym membership that has a sauna, cause maybe you pay $25 a month or $30 a month for your gym membership. I mean, that's way cheaper than buying a sauna that's going to get up to the temperature levels that you desire, or that your gym can get up to. But yeah, I think another thing as well, we talked about controlled breathing in the cold plunge, but the same thing with the sauna. I mean, gosh, you think about how much your heart rate gets up. You can almost kind of consider that as like a mild cardio activity when you're in the sauna. So I think there's benefit to that. And I think that's why the hot therapy kind of contributes more to, like the cardiovascular health and cardiovascular side of things. And in the same way there, you're also building that resilience, because it's not easy to be in the sauna for 7 to 8 minutes or whatever the magic number is. So I think it's important to consider both sides of it. But yeah, I would agree. I think from me specifically, practically all the practical things that I've done and the experiences I've had, I feel like I get most benefit from the sauna side of things as well.
Yeah.
But kind of moving on from that, I think the last 2 things I want to talk about kind of tying together. And we really need to get Stephanie. Stephanie is our registered dietitian here at Move Well, and she is the best at talking about sleep, but talking about how sleep impacts your recovery, your mood, your focus, your immunity, all those things. And then also on the flip side of that, caffeine and the effects of that. And, we don't have to get people, I think people know how important sleep is and what caffeine does to you. But I do want to talk about sleep a little bit and how your focus, your mood, your immunity, like decision-making, and even like metabolism, things like that, just like in general, like how sleep impacts our body. And I think it's really important from a recovery aspect. And I think you feel the impacts of it, or I know you feel the impacts from it because I felt it. So talk about recovery from like a sleep aspect, Wade. Like how have you felt the impact of that directly? Like even maybe talking about your Ironman training, when you're training for your Ironman, if you're not getting good sleep, what does that feel like? Is there any?
It feels terrible.
Yeah.
I mean,
even
what better
training,
way can I put it? It feels terrible, and you can feel it. And especially anybody that's doing those training with small kids, it's tough, especially if the kids are waking up a lot throughout the night and you're not getting continual sleep and getting deep sleep to allow your body to actually recover. It definitely impacts your body overall. But I definitely think in terms of if you're trying to start somewhere, I would look at the duration of sleep and just start tracking your sleep. If you don't have a watch or wearable, I mean, you know what time you go to sleep. And if you wake up multiple times throughout the night, if you're getting good quality sleep, you know that. So I think whenever I started with my trainer back 4 years ago, the very first thing we started tracking was sleep. And it was like, before we get too crazy into my Ironman training for my first Ironman I did, let's make sure we're getting good quality sleep and we got good sleep habits that are allowing us to recover. Because if you're not going to recover, you're not going to perform well. Mm-hmm. So I think, the 7 to 9 hours of sleep is really the minimum. And if you're getting less than 6, you're not going to be performing at the way you want, and actually will throw off your hunger hormones, your ghrelin and leptin actually increase. I believe it's your ghrelin, which increases your hunger, and your leptin, which actually increases your satiety. It'll actually decrease that. So it makes a huge impact if you're trying to lose weight or trying to perform better. It will just really wreck your body. So I'm thinking just starting somewhere and tracking it and trying to get good practice of sleep from a blackout curtains. People use sound machine. We still have one in there mainly just for our kids. So if I'm getting up working in the morning, they don't hear me moving around the room as much. We like to have it cold in our room to allow our bodies, like body temperature, to decrease right before we go to sleep, to allow us to get some good quality sleep. And then obviously if we can move our kids out of our room, I definitely think that would impact some good quality sleep that we have as well. But there's a lot of great resources out there. But I think for people, if you haven't tracked it, just track it.
Yeah.
And see where you're at, and then think small changes. What are some individual, like one-off changes I can make to see if this does improve my overall quality of sleep?
Yeah, I agree. And just to give like some context to that and the importance of that, some stats that I've looked up here, one night of poor sleep can reduce muscle protein synthesis by around 18%. So basically slowing the repair of your muscles after you work out, if you're working out. So it just shows how important sleep is. And another thing is that one night of poor sleep.
What do they quantify as poor sleep? Less than 6 hours?
Yes, less than 6 hours. Yeah. So anything less than 6 hours. And also, I think even aside from that, just the quality of your sleep, like you kind of alluded to, if you're not sleeping good, if you're not getting in a deep sleep, whether it's being woken up by your kids or tossing and turning, whatever it might be, that's going to impact that significantly as well. So not only the duration, but the quality of your sleep, which we could talk about all the reasons that impact that. And one being caffeine, that we'll talk about briefly before we kind of wrap up this episode. But another thing too is a night of poor sleep reduces your exercise performance by around 7.5%. So basically each hour of lost sleep or quality of sleep worsens that even more, which is
so if you don't think about it, I mean, 7.5%, you may not notice that workout, but if you look at it over a 16-week training block, like training for a marathon, like that adds up quite a bit over time to the performance potential that you had that was reduced by the poor quality of sleep that you were having.
Yeah. And then also the injury risk. Another thing here is athletes, or people, I should say, that sleep less than 8 hours per night have around a little over 1.5% higher risk of injury than people that have adequate sleep, which is, essentially 7 to 9 hours. So obviously that is linked to, hormone imbalance, inflammation, slower healing, you recover slower, all those things, which is huge. So just kind of like a testament to shooting for that, like you said, starting with let's just see how much time I'm sleeping for, 7 to 9 hours. So what changes do you need to make,
And I think a huge thing is the thing you keep looking at over there, hanging up on your spam calls you're getting, is people having their phones in their rooms. Right before you go to sleep, people doom scroll, looking at Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, seeing things that probably make them mad, that, just affects their quality of sleep right before they go to bed, which is probably one of the worst things you can do. Plus the blue light, and just affecting overall quality of sleep as well. I know growing up, I had a TV playing my entire time, my entire childhood, all through high school, college, everything, in my room. And I was like, man, I can sleep better when I have the TV on. As I got older, I was like, no, that's stupid. Like, why do I even have a TV in my room? So just removing some of those issues and barriers that you have to allow you to get quality sleep. Plus, if you're somebody that's just starting activity and you're starting exercise, your body's going to be more fatigued, and you're likely going to want to sleep a little bit more, and you're going to get a deeper quality sleep just because you are more fatigued. So that's a benefit from it. But as long as you start to take in those other practices as well, it is huge.
Yeah. And another thing that kind of rolls right into things that impact your sleep. But I think another, health trend or thing that is constantly considered.
Energy drinks everywhere, man.
I was going to say
caffeine everywhere.
Caffeine.
Everyone is making energy drinks these days, man. It's wild.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I mean, obviously there are benefits to caffeine. So I want to talk about the benefits, but then also maybe just like some best practice on that. So obviously you think about when you're doing an Ironman, when you're doing a marathon, when you're doing a half marathon, any type of endurance based event, caffeine's effective in a lot of ways. You know, it helps you. You know, whenever I do my ultras, like when I did our 100-miler in November, like I strategically placed when was I going to have caffeine, because I knew that I was going to get tired, and obviously that's going to help my output, my reaction time, and sleepiness, my adrenaline, all those things. So I think like the perception that caffeine provides is helpful in some cases, but also just using it effectively, and when to stop using it, I think, is a big thing. But any initial takes like on caffeine from based on what I've said so far?
Well, I think just more on a personal use. My wife is so good at this. She doesn't drink caffeine past like noon.
Oh,
and so she
that is balance
when, like,
right there.
Bedtime comes along, like she can like go out like a log. And I used to think, no, I can drink either an energy drink or a coffee at 8 p.m. and still go to sleep. And I'm like, yeah, I'm strong, man. I can do it. I can overcome the effects of caffeine immediately and still fall asleep, which I do. But my quality of sleep is terrible.
Your heart rate's
up. My heart rate's elevated. I'm waking up multiple times throughout the night. Got to use the bathroom a lot more throughout the night because the caffeine makes me use the bathroom a lot. So it just affects the overall quality of my sleep. So I think when you're looking at it, I think delaying caffeine first thing in the morning is good. And then around like between 10 and 11, taking that recommended between 120 to 200 milligrams, I would say would be appropriate. But then also it's probably good to take a break from caffeine every now and then just to see how it is affecting your body. Cause it can also, increase your hunger, especially if you're getting your caffeine through like sugary drinks. It's just naturally going to make you maybe not make the best other decisions in terms of your health overall. So in terms of caffeine, I try to just get it through black coffee. And if I don't get it through black coffee, it is an energy drink, but I've really cut back on those. Like I maybe have had one in the last 3 weeks, just because it's such a high intense amount of caffeine that it's significant. So trying to just monitor those, because I feel like I see high school kids drinking them all the time, especially like before an athletic performance. And some kids, I saw a girl, actually a cheerleader at the local high school I went to, Logan. You can probably take into this. She's a flyer. And she was on the top. She hadn't eaten all day, drank an energy drink right before the game, passed out while she was up on the very top while she was flying.
Oh my gosh.
And so obviously her heart rate was spiking. She had just thrown her up. I'm sure blood pressure dropped, and she basically had an event where she just passed out at the very top of her performance, and she fell pretty hard, and it could have been pretty detrimental.
Yeah.
So I think just being smart about caffeine, seeing how it affects your body, trying to limit it to a moderate amount it is a smart thing, and try not to take it in too late throughout the day, that where it does start to impact your quality of sleep. But it can definitely be beneficial. I think there's a lot of different forms of caffeine you can get these days. I know there's pouches, gum, all kinds of other ways you can get it where it doesn't have to be through like drinks and that. I know through my training, I like the gum, and it seemed to be a way where I could get my caffeine in without having to ingest a ton of liquids that doesn't sit well in my stomach.
Yeah, I agree. And speaking of kind of cutting it, you said Jeanette, your wife, she like cuts it off at a reasonable time, like
every day. Like she will not take in caffeine afternoon, like at all. Like even if I try to give her like, hey, take a sip of this coffee, she's like, it's decaf. I was like, no. She's like, well, I'm not drinking it because I'll just be up way too late.
Yeah. So
she's way more in tune with herself than I am. So it's good.
Yeah. Well, female generally is a little bit smarter than us. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, some good practices are 6 hours before bed is what I think. I think that's what Stephanie always says, 6 to 8 hours before your bedtime, which would probably be around
8, so it's smart.
Around noon. Yeah. So even if, like you kind of said, even if you fall asleep fine, if you're drinking caffeine later in the day, it's gonna still be detrimental to your sleep. Like your sleep quality is likely gonna drop. And I think it just depends on your age too, and like genetics. You know, and I agree. When I was younger, I feel like I could drink a C4 energy drink or a First Form energy drink or something, or pre-workout at 6 o'clock and go to the gym and then come home and I'm asleep by 10. And I felt like I slept fine. Was I? Probably not. Yeah. But yeah, so I think just being aware of that, and just if you don't need it or really feel like you need it, you don't have anything you need to stay awake for and have energy for, try to cut it out like 6 to 8 hours before you go to bed. And I think we'll just help you out in the long run.
I feel like it's probably an issue of, it's a symptom of a greater issue. While all these energy drink companies are just exploding right now because people are more tired and more fatigued. But why are more people tired and fatigued? What's your thought on that, Logan?
Well, probably because they're having too much caffeine, or they're not being still, honestly. You're drinking more caffeine, so therefore you're seeing the long-term effects, and you feel like you have to constantly be doing something. Your sleep's disrupted, so then you wake up and you feel like crap. So then, okay, what do I need? I need to grab an energy drink. I need to stop at the gas station and grab one because I slept like crap. Well, why did I sleep like crap? Because I drank 400 milligrams of caffeine throughout the day.
Yeah. Now, I think that's partly in agreement, but I would also just say it's just part of our society is like over-consuming, and over-consuming either social media, TV.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You're always on the go, and you never take time to just rest and relax. So I think it's just probably a greater symptom of overall issues in the world. And it's stupid to bring it back to this, I think, but I just think, especially just seeing it as like, whenever you said when you were younger, you could throw back a C4 or a pre-workout. But like when I was younger, there wasn't any of that. We performed well. I recovered well. I had energy throughout the day when I was younger, like especially like thinking about the kids younger than 18. That's like right when 4-hour energy or 4-hour power. I can't remember what
5-hour energy.
5-hour energy. Yeah. Whatever that was.
First
came out. I remember I was a junior in high school. We were playing a basketball summer game, and I was like, I'd worked all day on the farm. We had mowed probably 10 yards before I went and played a summer game that evening. So I was just wiped out by the sun. I was like, you know what? I'm going to take this before the game to try to help me give energy. A little disclaimer on the back said, taking before activity could cause a cardiac event. And I was like, yeah, that scared me to death where I didn't take it. And I was like, and I still performed all right. Like your body was able to perform. But I think it all just comes back to is everybody thinks we just need more caffeine, when in reality, people probably need better quality sleep, more time to actually rest, and like just take some time away from what you're consuming, which is probably interrupting your sleep, where you think you actually need that caffeine. And so I think it's just a symptom of a bigger issue that we're just dealing overall as a society, personally.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, that's kind of like what we talked about. I don't remember which podcast it was. Is one
it's
or
probably
two.
The detox, I'm sure.
Digital detox. Yeah. I think that was like 2 episodes ago. We talked about that specifically. It's like, if you're on your phone all the time, like, one, just consuming things on the internet that aren't positive, and just consuming the internet in general excessively, it's going to impact the way you think, the way you sleep, especially right before bedtime. I mean, I've felt the effects of that, just like you said, doom scrolling, over and over and over. But yeah, I think there's just a lot of these things are just good to consider and do your own research on it if you want to. But I think this speaks well to some of the research that we've looked at for this episode, and then also from our practical experiences, from caffeine and sleep practices and screen time. All those things are just things that you should consider, I should say, that are helpful to consider. They're going to impact you overall, and hot versus cold therapy, kind of looking into that. Obviously, there's costs associated with all of these things. So just being aware of that and considering those things. But yeah, anything else to add, Wade, before we kind of wrap up today? Any other knowledge?
I think something that we always hit on, though, and especially to all of this, especially in terms of, we talk about heart rate, cold and heat exposure, caffeine, and sleep, right? Those 4 things. We always speak about that the human body is the greatest machine ever created, that God created, right? So I want people to just take a step back and just see how each one of these impacts you personally. There's a lot of research out there on how it can be a benefit, but taking the steps and just seeing how it's affecting you overall, either just how your sleep or different methods that you can do to get better quality sleep. What's good for me, what may not be good for Logan. So just listening to your body, taking that time to actually seeing how caffeine's affecting you, how heart rate training may be affecting some of your performance and some of your training that you're doing, or if you're just trying to figure out what your heart rate should be. If your resting heart rate is too high, that impacts where your zones are. So there's different methods out there to calculate based off your detrained or a highly trained athlete, right? So I think just getting in tune to your body and just starting somewhere is huge. And Sometimes we can get overconsumed with the amount of advice that people research or see that's online and just fail to take action. I say just take that action, take that first step, and just listen to your body, because I feel like as you start to listen to your body, you'll understand what works best for you.
Yep, 100%. Beautifully said, Wade. That was good. Yeah, listen to your body, and just, I mean, I think the biggest thing we always say too is like, just get started, you know? And I think it's easy to say that, but sometimes it feels so overwhelming that it's paralyzing.
Yeah.
So just going for it. You know, maybe you've never run before, maybe you've never stepped foot in the gym before, maybe it's something at work, whatever it might be, just taking that first step and just going for it, you know, and learn as you go, do research as you go. You don't have to have the answer to everything when you first start, you know, and we all, I mean, I say that, like, I struggle with that as well. So just being able to sometimes cancel out the noise and just do it for yourself and see what it feels like for you, and then make decisions from there. But obviously, kind of tying it back to, if you ever have questions or comments or want to have discussions on anything like this, you can always DM us on social media. We're at MoveWell, MUUVWELL. If you're ever interested in one-on-one training or coaching from the spiritual, physical, mental aspect, you can send us an email, info@movewell.com, or DM us on social media. And then, like we kind of talked about earlier, we have a Patreon account now that supports this podcast specifically, but all the efforts that we're doing, just patreon.com/movewell. So we'd love to help you, love to help guide you, and just have conversations and develop relationship with you. So if you're ever interested in any of that, find us on social media, send us an email, info@movewell.com. If you're watching live on YouTube today, we appreciate you. If you are listening on any audio platforms, we appreciate you as well. And we will catch you next time.